Americans are broke, and the truck market tells the whole story. Walk down these lots, there's no shortage of pickup trucks. I mean, we look at Fords, we've got F-150s all stacked nice and neatly, and of course we look over there and we have a whole nother pile of F-150s loading up. And yet on one hand, Ford's telling everybody that their sales are improving, things are getting better, and all of these vehicles will be sold in short order. But the numbers of high sales isn't chalked up because of retail sales. No, as a matter of fact, Ford is one of the vendors that's selling a vast amount of commercial sales. So the market trends are showing that truck sales are slightly rising in this last quarter. So year over year, truck sales are diving down. Ford and their F-150 Lightning definitely isn't selling. And if you look at the average transaction price today of about $47,433, those numbers have actually dropped in the last quarter. How can that be when the average pickup truck is $60,000, $70,000, $80,000? Pickup trucks continue to climb with retail sticker prices as high as they are. It's pretty obvious that the more sales in the truck sector means that likely you're going to see an increase in the average transaction price, but you're not. Why is that? Right here we have a new truck here right off of the proverbial truck. This one here is a Ford F-150 XLT, as we notice right here. Beautiful little chrome trim on here. I love the chrome details. It's an F-150. This one is a 2024 model year, and it's stickers for $76,265. And we know XLTs are more or less just middle of the road bargain basement pickup trucks. XL is really the bottom you can really go, but XLT is just a minimum level of trim. And here's a beauty. Let's just talk about something that's a little bit more loaded. This is a beautiful brand new F-150. You definitely can tell it's got the black pack graphics. We can see it's got some of the black detail. I definitely like the looks of that. We've got more black detail here. Clearly it's a particular trim package that has some nicer detailing for those that like to have their cars and vehicles sort of blacked out trim. Oh, and look at this, we do have black pack graphics right there identified. So that has been an after the fact addition to this particular spec. Of course we can tow, this is an F-150. I definitely love that new logo. I think Ford's done a great job of slightly rebranding that. Beautiful truck, obviously crew cab, painted handles, step boards. You look on top and it's got a big sunroof on top as well. And this one here is a beautiful F-150 Lariat. Notice right there, it's absolutely gorgeous. We have 3.5 liter V6 EcoBoost, 10-speed auto. You get a Group 502A B&O Unleashed sound system, mobile office package, partitioned fold flat storage, and wireless charging pad. And all of this goodness, including a leather interior that looks like it's heated and cooled because you can see all the ventilation on the seats, means that you're going to pay $92,000 for this Lariat. If these trucks are selling so well, why does the average transaction price for new vehicles continue to climb? So the truck market right now, there's a big piece of reality versus perception. The perception is all of these trucks are going to sell very, very quickly. But the reality is, no, they're really not. When you consider the average US American household income only allows for about $400 a month disposable income for a brand new vehicle, that doesn't get you anywhere near to buying one of these big, beautiful, expensive vehicles when you're talking about having to pay $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a month truck payments. Forget about insurance and all the other costs that go with that $400 budget. There's no way. And when we look at some of the statistics, Kelley Blue Book is telling us that the average price that people are paying for a brand new vehicle is close to about $48,000 and change. And Experian is actually saying $735 per month is the average vehicle payment. But how can that be if most of these trucks are going to cost you $1,000 or $1,200, $1,500 or more per month? Well, Ford's come in with the scoop in the backyard and produced a vehicle that a lot of buyers are getting their hands on now to actually help the average transaction prices. And it's vehicles like this. What we're looking at here is their small pickup truck. For those people that can't afford to get into full-size trucks anymore, they now have an option. And what we have here is a Maverick. This is an XLT. You've got some metal rims on that, aluminum wheels. You get some nice little basic trim, but if you look inside, there's really not much. It's pretty much fabric seats, pretty basic. No sunroof on top. You get small 4 doors and of course a very small bed here. Right here as well, see this, no FX, this is FX4 off-road, alloy wheels as well, nice black basic handles, of course more fabric. This is also an XLT. But what is a Lariat look of version of this? This is one of the top load, of course, in the Maverick. What do you actually get? What looks different? Well, the bumpers look the same, the grille looks the same, the hood looks the same. Oh, there you get, looks like leather interior on the Lariat versus the XLT gives you fabric. No sunroof, no sunroof. Unpainted handles, painted handles. Laser cut wheels, not so much. This truck here doesn't necessarily give you anything more than a flatbed and a couple of basic little tie downs right there. And yet this one over here gives you these adjustable racks here to tie down your goodies in this vehicle. And as well, you get that rear sliders you see right there. This one does not come with a slider, and yet this one gives you a little opening. But how much is the top of the line Maverick Lariat, like this guy right here? Well, let's take a look. There's a sticker here, and we have Lariat. This is the 2-liter turbo, $47,000. Almost $48,000 out the door. It's over 55 grand. So what about those people that can't afford brand new? Well, experience says that the average payment for a used vehicle is actually around $523, still exceeding the average household income of the American buyer. So what are all these escalated prices actually doing? Causing people to go into poverty. A lot of people that are stretching way beyond their means, buying vehicles they likely can't afford, and the cost of living crisis is forcing them to reducing the rent, possibly renting with a buddy, reducing the amount of food, of course, no vacations, and a lot of cutbacks in other ways just so that they can be car poor for the next 7 years. And on top of this cost of living crisis and the high expense of these new vehicles, it doesn't help that people are paying extremely high interest rates. The average interest charges on a brand new vehicle right now is about 6.72%. And if you're not lucky enough to be able to even afford a new vehicle, the used car interest rate averages closer to 11.91%. You're almost giving a third of your dollars back directly to interest charges and the banks. The worst part is the average loan term that people are taking their vehicles out, blended average is about 67 months, takes you to about 5.5 years or thereabouts, moving on to 6 years of time that you're paying down these new vehicles, that after 5 or 6 years, you come into this vehicle paying 60 grand or $50,000. After 6 years, that thing's only worth about 20, and you've put 50,000 into it. You're so far underwater that it's not even funny. Clearly, the high price of trucks having big impact on a lot of consumers, extremely high price tags that people are just not able to absorb anymore. We saw what Ford was doing, and here we actually have a beautiful GMC. This one here is still a relatively basic truck. You don't have running boards on there. You've got the basic set of wheels, lots of plastic. It does give you the 5.3 liter V8, which is more or less their basic V8 engine right now. You do get color keyed handles right there and lots of plastic parts throughout. It's a pretty basic. This one's an X31. It's the elevation though with the step guards means the elevation is essentially a little bit more of a base model. Now this isn't bottom of the barrel. You can get a regular cab, long box with the base engine, 2.7 turbo 4, which by the way is having some problems. So that's the problem. Those people that can't really afford to get in at the ground level, buying the worst engines, and then they end up having the biggest problems. But this elevation GMC here, as we look up here, GMC, this is a 2400 Sierra 1500 Crew, elevation 4x4 or 4-wheel drive, connectivity, technology, performance, mechanical. There's a few start assist, brake pad monitoring. You know, there's a whole list of items in here that in most cases realistically should be standard, but they're calling them options. And the base price of this is 66 grand, and the total price with options is a whopping $74,000 for a relatively basic level GMC half-ton pickup truck. Right there, 73 grand. And there's a beauty right here. We have a Denali. This was pretty much loaded up. So what has GMC got to throw at the consumer for maximum dollars? Well, other than the Hummer EV, and we'll see if we can find one of those around here, but we have the Denali HD. I love the looks of this truck. Of course, you get the rugged trim here. Love that style of wheel. That sure looks like a lot of bling. I love the looks of that style of rim. I love the new design of these taillights. Tailgate type options on this as well. You can tow a ton of weight with this vehicle because it in fact is a 1-ton. You get a diesel here, the Duramax, and gorgeous. I love the design of these new trucks. You get the rear slider, chrome detail throughout. And you have to love chrome or you don't love chrome. But I mean, this is the ultimate Allison Duramax. Clearly, when it says ultimate, you're not paying basement bargain prices. And naturally, look at that big, bold grille. Chrome tow hooks on here. And as well, you get this big inlet right here. Good looking truck. I'm not even gonna fib. I really do like this thing. And it comes at a tag, I'm sure. Look at these big mirrors. You talk about the sizable mirrors that you can do to tow duty right here. You look down and it allows you to look way beyond the side of the vehicle if you're towing larger trailers. These big mirrors really do help. You do get a sunroof in this vehicle, and I notice in beautiful leather, absolutely nice. You've got white light piping on brown trim with all kinds of contrast stitching. This is a gorgeous vehicle. I'm not gonna fib. I would, if I could afford something like this, I certainly would. But let's take how much. Now I've seen about all of this that I can handle, like we saw over in the Ram Stellantis team. This vehicle here is listed at $126,000. Maybe I'll just go buy my Lamborghini instead. Oh, right there we have one. I found it. Yes, I in fact found a Hummer EV. Look at this thing, all of its glory. Absolutely beautiful vehicle. I will give it to GM. They really did a bang up job on this new redesign. And here we go. Obviously big wheels. What do we have here? What sizes of rims on here? This is a 22-inch wheel, as you can see right there. Obviously heavy duty, all-terrain type rubber. Get this nice flare. I love the looks of this. I'm not even gonna fib. Big stepping boards. This is the Hummer EV 2X. Of course, love the looks of this. What do you guys think? Anybody here liking the looks of this new Hummer EV? I mean, right there, I guess you have to like electric vehicles, but the vehicle as it stands, the way it looks otherwise, very, very impressive parts. Definitely like some of the beefy touches on here. And if I do say so myself, Lexus GX550 has a very, very similar look to what they're doing up here on the hood. This is very similar to that new Lexus GX for fractions of the money, I'm sure. Hummer HEV, of course, beautiful mirrors on this. I definitely like the looks of this. I'm not even gonna fib. But this isn't the kind of vehicle that your garden variety mainstream worker Joe B like myself is going to be able to afford, because I could only dream. But hey, there's a sticker. Oh yeah, there it is. $134,000 for a plug-in toy, a toy truck. The next reality with pickup truck market, sadly, is because of the expensive price tags with a lot of these new trucks. Everybody likes new shiny toys, as we were just looking at Hummers and Denalis. Everybody loves that. And you think, okay, can I slide into my budget? And then they push themselves beyond their means and beyond what they can actually afford. And then 2.5 years later, they lose their job, they make less money, or something changes in their life, have to put shingles on the roof, and all of a sudden, they lose their vehicle. That's right, repossessions are up. That's right, repossessions are on the up climb. Back in 2020-21, we saw a transition where we actually bottomed out. We were down to about 1% of current car loans were transitioning into repossession or default status. But things have been climbing ever since. See, back in 2021, we had a scenario where a lot of the dealers, there was forgiveness from the banks, the governments were throwing money out, and there just seemed to be more money to go around. People were given that forgiveness. Banks didn't want to claw, they didn't want to repossess. They gave people more flexibility, more elasticity in their loan terms. If you cried a little bit, you could go down to the bank and they'd extend you another couple months. Things have since changed then, and now they're tightening up. They're actually resisting the urge to give loans to people that have substandard credit ratings. They don't want to give loans to people like that, and now on top of it, they're getting tighter on getting those cars back, getting them off to auction, get them sold so that the banks can get paid. And this is what's going on now, because now we're transitioning from 1% back in 2021, all of a sudden we're up infringing on 3% of current car loans are transitioning into the repossession status, meaning that people are waving bye-bye to their beautiful, expensive new vehicles. And sure, with all the beautiful marketing that these manufacturers do, you get the shiny trucks, you see them out on the road, and you get the gist that, hey, I can afford one of those, that's what I need. I need one of these vehicles. But in reality, the more people than not can't afford vehicles like this. Rather, most people are actually more in a position to afford an older pickup truck like this older Sierra here, or a smaller little SUV, or a worn out little Volkswagen Jetta like we see here. And a lot of people are just driving smaller, more economical cars. Even older used pickup trucks are easier to afford for a lot of people. Or people are just driving older Honda Civics. Or look at this old beauty, this relic Dodge Ram. This is from a time when they were actually reliable, durable, and relatively simple. More old cars, and look, the old Chevy Silverado over there, a little rust around the fender, but that's typical of what people can actually afford. And days on the lot even impact Toyota. We're seeing a lot of extra Toyota inventory laying around. It's a gorgeous little Tacoma right here. I love the looks of this one. We've got the TRD right there, and it's a Tacoma. I love the orange. You're definitely going to be seen. If you don't like attention, this isn't really your truck, but it's a beautiful unit. We have a TRD off-road. I believe a buddy of mine just bought one of these vehicles. Gorgeous. Another TRD Sport here, and you'll notice you get a slightly different set of wheels here, different trim level. The Sport gives you this, whereas this, the TRD off-road, you get that. Of course, you get the black plastic handles here, and on the Sport you get this vehicle, this type of trim. It's a much nicer look. You do get the big display in both of these vehicles here, which is a nice feature. You also get a sunroof up in there, as you do here. But even all of these Tundras, there's more and more Tundras on the lots every single day, and the day's supply are rising on not just GM, Ford, and specifically Ram, but even Toyota products like these. And even with red tag days, that doesn't quite get it done anymore. People don't have the money to spend, even with great sales, incentives. That's the only thing keeping a lot of these manufacturers going, are the incentives that come out. A lot of people are like, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. And then all of a sudden, they see this big incentive, $15,000 off, 1.9%, and then all of a sudden, well, maybe I should see. And that's the unfortunate reality. People who probably are on the cusp or shouldn't be able to afford it are now going out buying these trucks and putting themselves in a predicament. And over in the Ram camp, a lot of people are starting to appreciate quality. When they're spending their hard-earned dollars, they want to make sure that they have something that not only is reliable, but chances are carries a reputation. And a lot of Ram products, Stellantis products, haven't necessarily been the epitome of reliability, although they're not the worst. In fact, vehicles like this, we're looking at the outgoing model, and this of course is a Ram 1500 Classic with the Hemi. These are the very trucks that are heavily incentivized right now, and people still are barely buying them. And it took massive incentives. I'm talking $15,000, $20,000 off of sticker to get these sold. I was talking to a sales guy here recently, and he said a lot of people were not buying, and it wasn't until all those big incentives hit that they actually started to see some sales, and the salespeople were starting to earn a living again. And we've seen day supply slowly rise. Now we're at about an average, industry average of about 76 days supply, with products from like the Jeep brand like this, as well as many of the Ram products here are two of the biggest losers as far as losing ground and adding additional supply to the inventory. These ones here went up about 14% day supply in the last quarter. And whereas the Jeeps over here, Cherokees, Grand Cherokees, all those vehicles now as well have gone up about 21% in terms of day supply, meaning the Stellantis products are well over double what the industry average of day supply. That means they're not selling, they're sitting. The lots are full of these vehicles, and they're clearly not able to push these. And while Sales Buddy actually said, you know, the Classics were going because there was a heavy incentivization to push those out the door to get rid of these old style. Obviously with that headlight, you can tell that's a Classic. Of course, that bumper, very old school, new old stock, but they're not selling on their own. Nobody wants them. Nobody even wants that new Hurricane. None of these trucks are selling, and that's what Ram has this major conundrum. So it's not that people don't want trucks, it's that a lot of these manufacturers loaded up during 2020 and 21, anticipating that there'd be this big rush of people coming out to buy a new vehicle, when in fact it didn't really happen. And they put too many vehicles on the lot, there was less demand, and of course once interest rates start to climb, people start to go back to work, they run out of cash, and all of this extra inventory just started sitting around. That's why you're still seeing 2022 model years out on the lots today, lots of 23s and certainly a plethora of 24s. I mean, a lot of people don't want the trucks that are all blinged out. They don't want to pay for all the big options. People don't have the money, they're broke. The cost of living crisis is taking over. People want a vehicle like that before they want something like this, but unfortunately even this vehicle is so grossly overpriced that a lot of people just aren't simply buying these. And look at this vehicle. I mean, they're both Classics. These are both Dodge Ram Classics. Here we have a Classic right there, as you'll see, Hemi 5.7. This one here is a Ram 1500 Classic as well. Difference, big wheels, alloys, and of course here we have steel rims. Here we have this beautiful painted bumper, and over here we don't. So clearly we have options, no options. And quite honestly, this is really realistically the truck that more people are looking for. And this is a 2023, as you see right there, nobody is buying it. So if this truck didn't sell in 2023, what makes you think it's going to sell today? You have to incentivize it till the cows come home, and people don't have the money. Even with the big incentives, you think the dealer's not incentivizing a truck like this? You bet your booties they are, but they're still not selling. I look at this truck here and it looks almost exactly like my old 2003 Ram in so many ways. Let's take a look. And this is realistically all that a lot of people are asking for, other than the fact that this comes with the V6, which most people don't really want a V6 engine in a full-size half-ton truck. Should at least come with a 4.7 or 5.7. These old taillights look like mine. This bumper looks a lot like mine. Sure, while the tailgate's updated, it's got this lip on it. For the most part, old wheels, very basic. I've got the plastic handles like this as well. And then I look inside, and this actually has the flip down center console, a lot like my truck. The seats are basic, and even the dash is very, very similar to mine as well. Clearly a very basic Ram V6, 4x4, and the basics, and still people aren't buying it. People don't have the money. And Stellantis CEO says he anticipates there's going to be a whole influx of new EVs by the Ram brands, by the Jeep brands, as well as overall Stellantis in general. For example, you're going to find vehicles like the Wagoneer here. There's going to be a Wagoneer S. It's bad enough that these aren't selling. Let's make them electric yet. Nobody wants these. But you're going to get a full-size SUV like this that are catered to the luxury buyer. But the luxury buyer is looking at Audi, BMW, Benz. They're not looking at a Jeep product. And the mainstream blue-collar clown like me, Lunchbox Joe, can't afford a $130,000 full-size SUV like that. I don't want it. I don't want payments of $1,800 a month, and neither does the vast majority of the population. But in the meantime, trucks are priced like this at $115,000, or trucks like this that are priced at $75,000. Or that Ram Rebel over there at $82,000. Even this Sport up around 80 grand. And this gorgeous Ram here with the 1500 Hemi e-torque right there. It's a gorgeous truck, but people don't have the money. And the worst part is the new Hurricane engine by Ram is coming out. Prices I've already seen, I've shared in other videos, the prices are starting to continually creep up. The worst part is nobody wants a Turbo 6, especially in the Ram group. The Mopar group definitely wants their big old tried and true V8 engines. And Toyota is also coming out with a revised 4Runner, which promises to be more interesting. Turbo 4, they shed the V6. Nobody's gonna want that, but yet prices are gonna go up there too, as well as the Tacoma. Prices are rising for some of the hot versions. All of these vehicle prices continue to rise, but nobody's buying today. Or if they are, it's only under heavy incentives. Wipe those incentives away, people can't afford it and don't want it. So realistically, the only way this market is moving, and it is slightly moving, the numbers are skewed. There's a lot of commercial sales, so some of their fleet vehicles are going up. Leases, people don't mind getting in short term. And as well, massive incentives in this first quarter of 24 means that people have sort of let their guard down and made some purchases. So you're seeing numbers that are slightly skewed. Wipe those incentives, we're going to see a different conversation. People aren't buying, they can't afford it. And with the cost of living crisis, $400 a month average income for the American and even Canadian buyers, they don't have the money to buy and spend a monthly payment of $1,200, $1,400, or $1,500 a month on their new truck, car, or SUV. The worst part in all of this, US government and reserves are already commenting they're probably not making any major adjustments. They might tweak a little bit on the interest rates, but generally speaking, the banks aren't giving anybody a huge break. Canadian market, same story. Even if they drop it, it might be 1 or 2 basis points, but clearly not enough to have a major impact. And now with a lot of people coming due on a lot of their mortgage payments, as mortgages are starting to expire, people are making that hard decision. I've got 6 months, interest rates are 4% higher than they were when I initially set up my mortgage. I better free up some capital, and I don't need this truck, so I'm not buying. I'm gonna keep driving my old jalopy till the cows come home. And of course, it's not just Ram with some questionable quality. Toyota right there actually screwed their customers. Would you believe it? Yes, some fake results on some of their crash tests. You definitely want to check that out. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.